What's up, guys? Welcome back. I am here with Daniel Laskowitz. We brought him back for another week to show us a part 2 to the approval attachments video. What's going on, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm good. What's going on there? You lost your hair? What is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a quarantine haircut, and it didn't work out so well. I know I'm still getting used to it myself. Every time I walk by the mirror, I'm like, whoa, there's something very different. Something's gone very wrong. But let's not focus too much on that. Last week, we got together and you showed us how to use an approval attachment scenario that's chained to a SharePoint list. And so we walked through how to set that up and to change some CDS limits to enable that. We showed you the difference between the email and the action center. And so this week, though, I figured, what's the one thing we didn't show them?
How to build it.
How to build it, exactly. And
yeah.
So I asked you to come back and show us today, how do you actually put that flow together? And so without further ado, sir, go ahead and take it away, share your screen, and please do your thing.
Sure. Okay, so here we are at my Flow SharePoint site, which I prepared for this demo. I have two files in here, a 2 MB and a 10 MB JPEG image, which I'm going to use to create the flow in here. So I want to create a flow which will send the attachment that I selected in here, and then it will go through an approval, and the approver will say approve or reject, and then an email will end up at the person who requested the approval, and then it will say if it's accepted or rejected. So let's start building the flow. I wanted to show you a certain scenario that a lot of people don't know of. I see it in some examples, but I still think that a lot of people underestimate this kind of flow. And that's the flow you start on a selected item or a selected document. When you select flow here in the ribbon, you can select create a flow. And then you'll get a nice sidebar which you have where you have a couple of options. You'll have a couple of templates in here, but when you click show more, you can see a lot more, and there's even more when you select see more templates. But for now, I'm going to use a template which is request manager approval for a selected file. In this case, I'm not going to use a manager approval, but I'm just going to show you how to create an approval attachment, because that's what a lot of people want to know. So let's select this one. And you'll see a splash screen where it will automatically ask you for some connections. And luckily, those connections all have single sign-on. So it will automatically log in here. So let's click Create Flow. Then it will take a little bit of time, and it will open the Flow detail screen. In the Flow detail screen, you can see a lot of details in here. You can see the connections, you can see the owners, etc., etc. The thing I wanted to highlight is original template. There's always a link to the original template, and that will give you the ability to go back to the original template anytime. So if you have changed that template and you're not happy with it, you can select original template, and it will go through the same template. But then you can start from scratch again, so you don't have to cope with your mistakes you did during the editing of your flow. Let's select edit, and now I can see I have for a selected file action with an input in here from message to manager. This is an input you can use if you want some extra details from the person that is triggering the flow. So you can delete this, but for now I'm going to use this for the approval, message to approver in this case, I'm going to call it. There is a get file properties action, because the for a selected file doesn't get all the properties in there. So that's why there's a get file properties field in here. Then there's a condition for the file not found. So when somebody starts a flow but it gets deleted immediately or something, then it will generate a status code or an error. And if the code is 404 from the file properties, you don't want to go on with the flow because there's no file anymore. So that's why they built in this condition. It's actually pretty neat, but for now I'm not going to use it. There's also some actions for getting the profile, getting the manager, and starting the approval. Or if the manager isn't in the profile, it will have a terminate action as well. For now, I'm going to delete this because I want to keep it to a minimum, all the actions. So let's add a new step and search for SharePoint. I can select SharePoint and then I can look for file content. And I'll get the action get file content here. So let's select the flow site and let's add the identifier field from the get file properties action that's above here. And now I have the file content available. When I select new step, I can search for approvals and I can select the start and wait for an approval action. Next, I can use the drop down to select the approve, reject, first to respond action and wait a little bit and add an approval attachment title in my approval. Normally you would give it a lot better title, but for now I just want to show you how to use the attachment. So I'll skip that for now. I'll select myself in this case. I will also hit the show advanced options link in here because without that you won't see the attachments. So you always have to use this link to get the attachments in here. You can see some other interesting options as well because the requester is, for instance, a really interesting one. Let's just grab something from the dynamic content in here and let's grab the user email from for a selected file action. Because if we don't do this, then nobody would know who was the person who requested it. Now let's add the file name with extension from the get properties action again. And let's get the file content from the get file content action. And let's add a new step, a condition. Let's use the outcome from the start and wait for an approval action. And let's add a condition here to check if its outcome is equal to approve. If yes, we want to send an email. And we want to send an email with the Outlook connector, Office 365 Outlook connector. And we want to send an email. We want to send this to, to the person who actually started this and add a subject here. Let's call it approved. And I'm gonna copy and paste this to the other side as well. And let's go here to go to my clipboard and add this one in here as well. So now you can see that I have two actions that have approved as a subject and approved as a body. But I'm going to use rejected in here because, of course, it's a different branch in the condition. So let's do that. I think my flow is almost done now. I only need to change the name of the flow. So let's call this request approval. And let's save this one. So now I've saved this this flow. And I can go to flow attachments again. Let's refresh the page for now. And let's select the 2 MB file. Select the flow menu item wait a little bit because it always takes a little bit of time to load all the flows that are attached to the document library. Let's select request approval. And let's continue here. That was the permission screen. You only have to do that once. I want to add a message here. And I just realized that I didn't add a message in here. So let's just do that right now and see if it will still make it in here. So let's scroll down a little bit and see the message here and save it again. So this is a good test to see if it will run correctly. I need an approval for 2 MB picture. Let's run the flow. It starts the flow. And probably I should get an email in not too long. So let's switch to unread. Normally this takes about 20 seconds. Here we are. So it's already there. Let's select this one. You can see that it has been requested by myself. It also sends the email to myself because I am demoing this, of course. But what I can do, I can see the image in here. It's included in the approval email. I can select it. And when I select it, imagine having a PDF file or a document which you need to review. If you have this in your email, you can actually scroll through it and see what is in there. And you can review it side by side to the approval. And that's really powerful. So let's approve this one. You can see that in the details, it actually took the message part of the request, and I added that last minute, so that's good. When I submit this, it will register the approval that I have approved it. I didn't add a comment in here, but when I open this, it shows me that I have approved the email or the approval. So that's how easy it is to actually use an approval attachment. And I think that this is a really powerful feature. And make sure to use it and try it out and see if you can solve some really cool scenarios.
Boom.
That was my demo.
Yeah, and so the cool thing about that is we saw Daniel use the file content from SharePoint, but you could do this from wherever you host documents. Inside of Flow, if there is a file content selector present, you can do this same thing with content from anywhere. And so this is just a quick example to show you how to hook this up to a SharePoint list. But this idea, this example is usable across most of the data sources in Flow.
Yeah. It can get even from an FTP, for instance, from a local file server, whatever you want. You can get it from there. So that's a real cool thing.
Very, very cool. All right, man, Daniel, thanks so much for coming back and now showing us how to build this flow, because part one was awesome and seeing how it worked, there was definitely a lot of interest. And so this is great, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, go ahead and check the description. There's a bunch of links to start following Daniel on his YouTube channel, the Flow Pro Show, his Twitter, all sorts of stuff. So go check those out. While you're there, click like, click subscribe. Make sure you don't miss another video. All right. Much love from me. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Later.